Hey, what's going on, guys? Joel Pal CHH, and today we are talking about the second 4K UHD release from the MVD Rewind Horror Collection, and that is Ghoulies. Now, Ghoulies is one of my all-time favorite Charlie Band films. Now, this was during the Empire days, so this was pre-Full Moon, and in those Empire days, we've got classics like Ghoulies, Reanimator, From Beyond, The Eliminators, Dungeon Master, Dolls, you name it, some of the most classic 80s fun films ever. I put Ghoulies among the absolute top of that list. As a matter of fact, I think the staying power that Ghoulies has is, makes it probably one of the most, if not the most, incredible titles from that Empire catalog. It's probably my favorite. As much as I love Reanimator and Stuart Gordon, I'm a Ghoulies sucker. What can I say? Just a few words about the first Ghoulies. It's interesting that the first Ghoulies is really a different kind of film from the second one in the sense that this series could have gone in a much different direction with dealing a lot of magic and things like that because, the story of the first Ghoulies is interesting. It opens up with this seance where this baby is about to get sacrificed and you realize this is the father doing this seance about to sacrifice his son. Well, it goes awry and the son manages to survive. Years later, when the father dies, he inherits this house that the father had, and he doesn't know really what happened back in the day. It was kind of kept out of his life so he could try to live some normalcy. But he has a housewarming party, and he pulls out one of those seance books, and just as fun joke, decides to perform one of those seances. Well, while doing that, he basically opened up a portal of hell where nasty little bastards could come out, and those are the Ghoulies. I actually said that part 2, the Ghoulies, looked the best, and I still think that. But watching this new 4K release, I actually got to see that this movie had a lot more visually to offer than I had previously thought. Watching this, quite frankly, like on YouTube and streaming and things like that, you never really could see how good this movie was or how good it looked. That all changes now with this new 4K release from MVD. The 4K scan on this looked stupid good. They got the original camera negative for this. They cleaned up every single frame of it. It looked incredible. As a matter of fact, I have to say, I think this is the best 4K scan upgrade of any movie I've seen so far this year. And that's even including the Swamp Thing 4K that they did, and that was sensational. This one looked so good, it's the bar setter for me this year. I've been doing those Child's Play 4Ks, and they looked great. But MVD is saying, hey, this is how you do 4K. And quite frankly, the picture quality on this, I'm just going to jump ahead and say it gets a perfect 10. Going back to Ghoulies for just a second, there's so much offered in this one that, I think this one's my favorite. Because even though the Ghoulies aren't throughout every single scene, maybe the way part 2 is, the characters and the setups and everything in this movie are so funny, 80s, cheesy, and I love it. These Ghoulies come back from a seance and you see them in scenes popping out of food, attacking people from behind, having fun, still doing some shenanigans. And the detail on them is so much better than I remembered because you really get to see all the finesse and detail that was put into these puppets. And they look good. The fish, the cat, the rat ghoulie. I mean, they probably look a little bit better still in 2 from a build perspective. But, seeing it in 4K really opened my eyes to say, no, this does look incredible. Watching this again, I gotta say that my favorite is probably Ghoulies 1. We got this new mono soundtrack that was perfect. The music was robust and in your face, but the audio for the voices and everything was perfectly leveled. And I have a soundbar that I use, and I talked about this in some of my Chucky reviews, like some of those 5.1s, they're a great experience, but if you are trying to be courteous to people around you, you'll notice you might have to go up and down with the music to the voices, and it can be a little bit of an annoyance. But this new mono track that was put on here was awesome. I'm actually a big fan of really clean, good mono tracks. I had that on Return of the Living Dead 4K, which was the original mono track, and I loved it. So, yeah, good job on that. I actually really appreciated the mono track. We've talked about this before, they had that Scream Factory double pack, and there was a great documentary on there. So I want to talk to you guys about the special features and why this is one of my favorite releases this year. In an interesting turn of events, just like the Ghoulies 2 MVD Blu-ray release that I talked about the other day, they ported over the Scream Factory documentary that they did, which was really great and put onto here as well. The new features that MVD added are incredible. You get an incredible new interview with Luca Bercovici, who has really funny stories. He actually grew up in the same place Charlie Band did and talks about so many funny tales with each other, how Charlie Band operates, how he's a renegade, when the idea for Ghoulies was basically presented to him, and in a matter of 20 seconds, he was like, I like the idea, let's make that movie. And that's how they operated. I really loved the brand new interview with Ted Nicolau on here. Now, Ted Nicolau has done some of my favorite films, like the Subspecies films and Terror Vision, and he was the editor on this film, and it was just a great interview, and you learned so much. So the new stuff that MVD got was bountiful in length and in information. So I love that, and I love when you get like the real deal people that were involved in the making of this film. So you get that old Scream Factory documentary, which is great, gives you a lot of information, and Charlie Band's involved in that as well, and new interviews with the director and Ted Nicolau, and I loved it. I loved the new bonus features. And there's more. Let's take a look at the back and read through everything. That way you can get a good idea of what you're getting. All right, so we're getting a new 4K restoration of the 16-bit scan of the original camera negative, presented in its original 185:1 aspect ratio in Dolby Vision HDR. We get an archival interview with the director Luca Bercovici, an archival 2016 interview with the director moderated by Jason Andreasen of Terror Transmission, and a collectible 4K mini poster. But on the Blu-ray, you're going to get a brand new 2023 HD restoration of the film presented in its 185:1 aspect ratio, and yes, the Blu-ray does look better than the Scream Factory. The archival 2015 audio commentary with the director, the archival 2016 commentary with the director with Jason Andreasen. We get a video introduction by director Luca Bercovici, which is brand new. Editing an Empire interview with Ted Nicolau, which was absolutely fantastic. The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Waste interview with Scott Thompson. We get Just for the Chick Man interview with Luca Bercovici, and from Toilets of Terror, the making of Ghoulies, which is that Scream Factory Blu-ray. Photo gallery, theatrical trailer, and we get 4 TV spots. So guys, just like the Swamp Thing release, this has a classic, CED look to it. And there's also like these kind of bubbles on the front, and it's supposed to look, I think, like a sticker that got put on. And I like that. It's like those little air pockets that you get. So you take this out. There is no reverse art on here, but here's the 4K. Open this up, and you get your 2 discs, the Blu-ray disc, which I have in my TV. You get your poster, and then your 4K disc. And the bonus features are on the Blu-ray disc, by the way, which is how I prefer it. Keep the 4K disc as uncompressed as possible, Then you get your mini poster, which looks like a CED, which I love that. That's amazing. So, this line has really cool appeal to it, and I'm digging it. I'm into formats, as you guys know. I collect CEDs, Laserdisc, VHS, beta tapes. I have all that stuff. So them doing a line that kind of mimics that kind of look and appeal is just right up my alley. So, and this does have the number 2 on it. So if you have the Swamp Thing 4K, it'll have the number 1 on it. This is number 2. So, maybe Ghoulies, I think, is going to be, Ghoulies 2 should be number 3 if they don't do anything else before that, because they are doing a 4K for Ghoulies 2. They just couldn't do it now. So that's why they put the Blu-ray out already. So, guys, I give this release 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up. In terms of the new features, in terms of the great audio track, in terms of the flawless 4K picture, and in terms of it being a damn fun 80s horror film, creature feature, if you will. The Ghoulies are great in this one, and they're in there a lot more than I even remembered, because I can tell you there's a lot going on with this movie. There's great characters with all the black magic stuff going on, but once the Ghoulies arrive, they're there, and they're doing all kinds of funny shenanigans, and they look really good. So the 4K is really going to change your experience with this film, I think, for sure. So I give it 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up, guys. This is coming out very, very soon. Be sure to pre-order it on Amazon, guys. You're not going to want to miss this. If you are a 4K person and you love 80s horror and you want to see it look stunning, like I said, I think this is my favorite 4K scan of the year. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please drop a like if you have not yet, and tell me your experience with Ghoulies. What was the first time you saw this movie? Let me know, guys. Great film. Charlie Band lives on. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.